This video takes you through the stages of adding fractions, from the really simple ones to the true Stinky Ratbags. First of all, if you are doing some simple adding up of fractions where the denominators are the same, then basically the denominator stays as what it is and you just have to add the numerators. So here 2 and 3 would give you 5. A simple pictorial example of this is, here's 2/7, here's 3/7. So altogether we still have sevenths, but there are 5 of them shaded in. Here for this one we've got 2/9, so 3/9, so we keep our ninths at the bottom and then we just say 2 and 3 is 5. We add the numerators together. So here's our 2/9, here's our 3/9, and that makes 5/9 altogether. So if the denominators are the same, you just add the numerator and keep the denominator as it is. When you move on to the slightly harder ones, here we've got different denominators. Our first target should be to try and get the denominators the same. Always try, first of all, to make the smaller denominator into the bigger denominator. Now I can do that with these two examples here because I can change fifths into tenths using the skills that I've learned in video A3 to simplify and convert. So this is the one that I'm going to change, and I'm going to try and make it into tenths by timesing the top by 2 and timesing the bottom by 2. So this is actually going to be the same as 6/10. So my sum now becomes 6/10 and 1/10. What I've actually done, if I just grab a red pen, what I've actually done is turn my fifths into tenths by cutting them into half. So I did have 3/5, which would have been this one, and this one, and this one, and that's equivalent to 6/10. So altogether, when I add these together, I will get my tenths on the bottom because my denominator is the same, and I'll get 7 on the top, making 7/10. Down at the bottom, I'm going to change my quarter into eighths by timesing the bottom by 2 and timesing the top by 2. So my quarter becomes 2/8. Now I can do my adding up sum. My denominator stays as 8 and my numerator becomes 5, giving 5/8 as an answer. Moving on to the ratbags. Now these are slightly more challenging because you can't change sixths into quarters and you can't change quarters into sixths. So the best way to do this is to actually times the denominators together. 6 times 4 will give you 24. So my first fraction will have 24 as a denominator, my second fraction will have 24 as a denominator. So how do I change 6 into 24? So I times by 4, and the same for the top, which will give me 4/24. My second fraction, how do I change quarters into 24ths? I times by 6, which gives me 18/24. What you tend to find with these is the first one you times by the denominator on the second, and the second you times by the denominator on the first. Okay, now I'm out of 24 on the bottom because my denominators are the same, so I can take that straight through. 4 add 18 gives you 22 out of 24, and I can simplify that if I wanted to by dividing by 2 to give me 11/12. Let's try this one. Okay, times the denominators together, I get 12ths on both of my fractions. This one I'm going to times by the denominator on the right, so times 3. This one I'm going to do times by the denominator on the left, so I'm going to times by 4. So my first fraction becomes 9/12. My second fraction becomes 4/12. So altogether I've got 13/12, which I can make into a mixed number. 12/12 will make 1, and I've got 1/12 left behind. Moving on to the really stinky rat bags. Now this is where you have mixed numbers which you're adding together, where they have different denominators. The first one, right, what you do is you grab the whole numbers and you add those together first. So I've got 2. I'm going to put oh no I haven't, hang on a minute. I've got 3 because 2 and 1 makes 3. You can tell it's January. Now I'm going to look at the fraction part. I've got 3/4 and I've got a half. Okay, so if I convert those, this one can change into 2/4. So when I add those together, now I've got the same denominator, quarters on the bottom, 5 on the top. That's the same as 1 1/4. So if I add these two parts together, my total will be 4 1/4. Now that one wasn't too bad because we had quarters and halves. This one's slightly harder because we've got fifths and thirds. Okay, let's look at the whole number first. 2 and 3, I'll be a bit more careful this time, makes 5 wholes. And then if we're adding together 1/5 and 1/3, we multiply those denominators together to give us 15ths. Okay, this side I'm going to times the top and the bottom by 3. That side I'm going to times the top and the bottom by 5. So here we've got 3/15ths and 5/15ths, giving us 8/15ths. So if we add that to our 5, we've got 5 8/15ths. And those are the Stinky Rat Bags.